This is episode 14 of the Breaking the Coconut Show. On this episode, 3 major speakers share their ideas, challenges, and other insights about the entrepreneurial space and tech space in Nigeria. James Burton, a 2018 Pershing Square Scholar at the University of Oxford. His research is focused on public policy programs to foster entrepreneurship, particularly the Nigeria UWIN program. He shares his ideas on what the UWIN program stands for and how other enterprises and entrepreneurs can benefit from it. SoyedeJohnshon is an innovation and business development expert at Ericsson and a regional partner at African Technology Foundation. As an ecosystem builder and an award-winning entrepreneur, Olusoye seeks to create strong platforms that help identify, nurture, and accelerate nascent talent and solutions. Belarus Okoje, a mass communication graduate, presenter, and head of the content development team at techcity.ng.com. She is a seasoned broadcaster who works at City 105.1 FM. She shares the impact that TechCity is making in the tech entrepreneurship space in Nigeria and some of the peculiar challenges.
Welcome everyone to the BTC show. So today is we have a different kind of BTC show. We call it the BTC Fireside Chat. So my name is Charles Omi, and we have an amazing audience here. The idea for today is that James has been in Nigeria for 1 month, if I'm correct. And what will be your own general perspective with your own research? Because I'll let most of the entrepreneurs here tell their own story. But what's your own perspective on why, for instance, you let me know that the UWIN program is meant to be a model that you want to work on. Trust me, prior to now, I wouldn't have embraced that thought. I wouldn't believe that UWIN was meant to be something someone else would copy. But you've come up with the research, and maybe that's you have something we're quite not too aware about. So what makes that model quite something you want to replicate somewhere else?
Sure. So UWIN, for I guess the international viewers, was a competition run by the Nigerian Ministry of Finance, and it was the biggest business plan competition in the world. And they essentially used the competition as a vehicle to invest, or I shouldn't say invest, give grants. So money that didn't have to be paid back, just grants, to over 7,500 entrepreneurs in Nigeria. Just less than half of them off the business plan. Okay. So not people with necessarily proven models, it was people that were excited to try something new. And a lot of people were very skeptical, as you can imagine, not just because it was a government policy, but obviously because it's a very high-risk area and you're giving between 1 and 10 million naira to these people. And what we actually found, and what the World Bank found when they did an entirely independent study over the 3 years following the program in its original version, was that it's one of the most cost-efficient job creation programs of its kind ever created. So much so that the World Bank...
In Nigeria or Africa?
No, like in the world. And so I mean, this is the amazing thing, is that David McKenzie, who is a very, very senior economist at the World Bank, did a very detailed piece of research. And what was fascinating, very briefly without getting too technical, was that they structured the program in what's called a random control trial. Okay. And what that is where, while they gave just the best business plans the money straight away, then the second best group, they actually allocated randomly. Okay. You say, well, why would you do that? Why wouldn't you just give to the absolute best? And the reason is that what you can do once you have allocated randomly is you can say that there's a group that got the money and a group that didn't get the money. Okay. And they're the same generally, right? They got the same score in their business plan. But what they did is that you can compare the growth outcomes. How many did this group employ? How many did this group employ? And the difference in employment between those two groups is the number of jobs that was created by the program. And we know that number very, very clearly. It's undisputable that there's a difference there, and very clear that that's because of the program. And what that enables us to do, to kind of jump back from that technical piece for a second, is to compare the cost of the entire program with the number of jobs created to end up with a cost per job created. And we can look at other programs and say, what did it cost them for every job they created? And so David McKenzie just did a big worldwide study. He looked at a wage subsidy program in Jordan. He looked at consulting programs. He looked at fiscal stimulus in the US. And if some of these programs were costing $80,000 per job created, some of them, even say the fiscal stimulus in the US, for tax cuts in the US, it cost about 150% more per job, or 150% of the cost of doing UWIN per job. So when you've got 80,000 for some jobs, UN was doing it for 8,500 per job. 10x better. And so what the UN program now means for the rest of the world is how can we learn from Nigerian entrepreneurship? How can we replicate your successes for other sub-Saharan African countries and indeed countries around the world to help them create employment for their people?
Interesting. That's new. That's new. Okay, cool. We'll let the entrepreneurs in there. We have techcity. So Bella, tell us.
I love telling the techcity story because I know that it came at a time when perhaps the issue of unemployment was just about to get really bad. We started off as friends from the university, thankfully. We were about to get into the labor market, but thankfully one of us was thinking before we graduated. And they came up with this idea where we would share tech information to as many people who use technology or were interested in technology in a language that they understand. And if you look at how technology is, even right now, many people still run away from the technicality of it because of how somehow verbose it can be.
True.
And how confusing, how confusing it gets sometimes. And then we looked at Nigeria. As much as we are a very happy people, even though that index, we're not doing too well on that index anymore. We like the simple things.
True.
So when you speak to someone in a language that they understand, they are able to accept it faster. And then we decided to talk about technology, do a gadget review. Everyone here has a smartphone. We all have laptops, we have desktop computers. People are driving smart cars. And then we want to talk about the things that make your phone act the way that it does in the language that you understand. So you don't feel like, oh, this is American wonder. No, yeah. No offense. So when we sat down and thought about it, I'm a content developer. I write well, if I do say so myself. And I also am a broadcaster by training. I had a group of guys around me who were really techies. They still are. They are very involved with the dirty work, going behind the cameras to tweak this device, to check out what's up with the laptop and all of that. But they're not very camera friendly, right? So there's me,
Very true.
who is the poster girl for camera. And then we sat down together, came up with this idea, modeled it in such a way that it would fit on television. Because we also looked at the Nigerian mass. There was a time when traditional media was practically the only way you could communicate with a lot of people in Nigeria. So we said, okay, let's go on TV. Let's put this on television because of the number of people we're trying to appeal to. We went to TV stations and they were not interested in really what we had to offer. They were able to admit at least that it was a good idea that we had, it was a good model we had, but the money aspect was what they were not very okay with. Okay, so how much would it cost to put a 15-minute tech program on television? It would cost millions for just one episode, and then multiply that by a whole season, 13 episodes. It was just, they were not thinking big at the time. It was like, oh, that's just way too much for us to give you free of charge. And then we thankfully decided, okay, how else can we do this? This is information that we think everyone out there can use. So we thought YouTube.
Okay.
We went on YouTube, put up some of our content there. Thankfully, we were able to set up or establish friendship with YouTube Nigeria and some other brands in Nigeria, and we began doing things for them. They would have us do some of these things for them, so they would use at their events. So we would do a Samsung gadget review, for instance, and on the day the gadget was being launched in Nigeria, our review would be shown there. Okay. Which was amazing. We didn't even see any of this at the time. We were just really concerned about putting this content on television, but thankfully there was that whole YouTube thing and we were able to do that. And of course, as time went on, we had to do a lot more things. We have looked at being a complete 360 degrees media company that also helps out with advertising. We have great people who do content. We've had to employ more people to have them use their talents, have them use their gifts as well to help big and small companies alike. SMEs also, we are telling the stories of these SMEs that have similar stories like ours, SMEs that are doing amazing things but are not being heard. Who is going to tell their stories? We have a lot of websites everywhere talking about what Snapchat is worth and what Facebook is worth and how many advertisers Facebook has. It's not a bad story, but there are things happening in Nigeria that Nigerians need to know. There are things happening in Nigeria that the entire world needs to know about. who is going to tell those stories. So we took it upon ourselves to look out for some of these amazing stories, look out for SMEs, small businesses that are doing amazingly, startups everywhere that are coming up with amazing ideas, solving problems in every sector. And we're telling these stories, sharing all of this inspiration with as many people who may or may not know or may not even need these things. But just know that, look, Nigerians are doing amazingly.